Kai aku nui, kai aku rahi, kai aku whakatamarahi ki te rangi, tēnā koutou katoa. Nau mai anō kia marae I tēnei ata. This week, the Waitangi Tribunal resumed hearings for Y2700, the Mana Wahine claim. It's one of the longest running inquiries of its kind. Toru te kau tau hoki tōna tawhito I Naianei, dating back over 30 years with more than 200 claims. Ko tōna tino pūtake ko tēnei, the Crown's systematic failure to uphold the mana and leadership of Wahine Māori under Te Tiriti. Tina Ngata was among those who gave evidence this week. She joins us now. Kei taku tuahine e mihi ana ki a koe tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe te tingane, koutou ko ngā whānau katoa kia ora rā.
E hoa, for those who don't know, what is the Mana Wahine claim really about and why does it matter now?
Well, I think you've given some really great insights into it already in your introduction, Scotty. As you mentioned, it's one of the longest standing claims that we have, led by our po areta kōpū, but also including many po who have since left us, Dame Whina Kupa, Mira Shashi, Eri Hapete Murchie, Dame June Mariu, Te tika me mihi atu ki tērā kuia as we approach the first year anniversary of her passing as well, and also supported by many po still living today, Dr. Hope Tupara, Ripeka Evans, Pāparangi Reid, Auntie Donna Aotearoa as well. It really attests to the fact that the colonial harm and the breaching of Te Tiriti o Waitangi that has been visited upon Te Ao Māori has happened not only along racist lines but also along gendered lines as well, because our colonisers were patriarchal colonisers. And so that placed Wahine Māori within a crosshairs of racism and misogyny, and that has manifested in social and economic and cultural and spiritual harm that is distinct to Wahine Māori, as well as, naturally, because of all those things, the erosion of our leadership roles. And so as a claim, it spans across all of those different realms to talk about the very distinct colonial oppression that has happened through the breaching of Te Tiriti o Waitangi in relation to Wahine Māori.
Tautoko anau I o kōrero, I think about, that extraordinary brilliance our ancestors had of creating balance in all aspects of mana wahine mana tāne. And that colonisation really stripped away the mana of wahine and almost placed too much emphasis on mana tāne, and we lost that balance that we used to have in our world and in our culture. I kōrero koe ki te tribunara I tēnei wiki, you gave evidence this week. How tō hia kia rongo hia e te tribunara? What did you most want the tribunal to hear when you spoke to them this week?
So the evidence that I gave this week was really around the doctrine of discovery as a context, which is, my area of expertise. It spoke to how the doctrine, which is rooted in this really Eurocentric and male-centric way of thinking, was instrumental in creating the ideas upon which they grew their policies and their behaviours and their speech and everything that wound up marginalising mana wahine as well. And so that marginalisation happened across many different, as I mentioned, many different kind of spaces. I wanted them to understand that the systemic issues that are faced by Wahine, they're not isolated incidents. They are built into the system. And kei te tika koe, te ngāne, we absolutely had a way of balancing our roles within that space. And there was a spectrum within which we operated in that space, but it always maintained balance. So mana whenua was not determined by your gender, it was determined by whakapapa. And then what happened when the colonisers arrived was that they brought with them laws which absolutely determined your right to hold on to land, and all of the economic, results of that that could only be with men in the colonial mindset. And so they imposed that on top of us. And what happened as a result of that was extremely harmful, politically harmful, economically harmful, but also spiritually harmful. And we have to remember that, in order for them to be able to do those things, in order for them to create harm and to visit harm, they need to strip sacredness away. And so, of course, the first thing that they did is that they came for our atua, and specifically they came for our atua wahine. And we ourselves, even within Te Ao Māori, have absorbed some of those ideas. And so we've been on our own journey of reclaiming that as well. And many generations, thankfully, did not absorb those ideas, but held them close to keep them safe for the time when we could safely reclaim them. So now is a time for accountability over that story.
Koa katoa anau I kororo koe mō ngā atua wahine. I'm really happy you spoke about our female deities, because that's one of my objectives I nei rānei kia whakamana ake anō, kia whakaora ake anō I ngā kōrero mō ngā atua wahine. Kia tutuki anō ai tērā kauhanga nuitanga. That's one of my things that I'm really passionate about now, is really reviving all of that kōrero about our atua wahine. What needs to happen next now, Tuahine?
Well, of course, there needs to be an acknowledgement of what happens and an apology. There needs to be restorative action, and that needs to include material restoration for what has been taken, because we need to remember within this story, and what I gave evidence about in the tribunal this week, was that particularly through the native land courts, large quantities of land were transferred from Wahine across to Tāne as well as being just completely taken from us and by the Crown as well. And so there needs to be material restoration for what that has meant for Te Ao Wahine throughout the time. There needs to be structural reform. There needs to be systemic reform. And that really, if you're asking me to go back to your previous question, what do I really want them to hear? It's that this is so deeply entrenched in Te Ao Māori that it can only be solved through systemic change. We need to change how we wield power. We need to change how we do economy in this country in order to really restore the harm that was done through colonialism.
Brilliant, te hoa, brilliant. Me pēnei taku mihi ki a koe e te tuahine Waimari I Te Ao Māori I te hunga ata mai pēnei I a koe. E kōkiri nei I enei kaupapa whakahirahira hei oranga mo tātou katoa. Mihi ana ki a koe tīna ngata taku tuahine I rotorua tēnā koe hoa. The End of Life Choice Act became law in Aotearoa in 2021. Since then, over 2,000 New Zealanders have applied for assisted dying. It's a complex decision, but how is the legislation working for Māori? Two whānau share their very personal experience.
Ko tēnei mea te hakamate tāngata I raro I te ture, he mea hau kia ngai tāua te iwi Māori.
Moku ake he mea pai mo te tangata e ngaukino nei te mate. Tino ngaukino nei te mate. Hore kaukei a tātou te whakawāki a rātou. Anō te mea hore kaunua tātou te rongoaki te mama e rongohia nei e rātou. Ka mutu kei aia no tāna tikanga.
Ko Julian Chatham, te tahi I toro atu ki tana taha Māori, ki te tuku atu I tana tuakana, I ngau kinotia e te roro tapipi.
My sister wanted to do this for a long time. And when we first started talking about it some years ago, our mum was very opposed to the idea. I mean, it's just an unnatural idea for a mother to have her firstborn child, her daughter, go before her. So there were those kind of struggles for my other tuakana and myself. We were, I guess, in the thick of what life was like for our sister, and we really wanted to help her.
E rere ana hoki te aroha kia Andrea Hopkins, te rironga o tōna māma ia Sylvia Hopkins, e te ringa rarata o mate. He mate pukupuku te mate I Pākiaia, E whita takau mā waru o nā tau, ka ngaro nei.
The main struggle was keeping my ego in check, quite frankly, and not making it about me. It was about my mother's journey, and also reminding my mother that there was no right or wrong in this journey. Everybody faces death differently, and it was her choice, her time, her place, and her way, and all I did was try to help facilitate with that.
I don't know if it's perhaps unlike other terminal diseases, people might think you can't, you don't necessarily pass away from multiple sclerosis, but you certainly, from the related sort of side effects. So it was a slow downward spiral probably for about the first 10 years, and then it sort of ramps up and it just kept getting more and more progressive. She woke up really hating the fact that she had this every day.
We hadn't always got along. That was one of the conversations that we had too, We haven't always liked each other over the years, Mum, but I've always loved you. And she paid me the greatest compliment, that she was proud of me.
Ka tini ki te pō, mano ki te pō. Te toko maha ko huri ke ki tai mahara. Ka ke koutou ki runga i te paitai o te rangi whera. Whiti ki tua ki taumata huinga te tupua. Ki kāpura a te tupua. Ka waiho ko te hunga mā nehe. Ka riro atu koutou e te hunga moe puku. E moe. Takota.
I don't know exactly how the procedure went. There was like a first injection and a second injection, and my other sister said that she just basically yawned and she said I can see birds.
The process was quite swift, like the approval process. We didn't have to wait a long time because it was very evident that she didn't have long, and she feared drowning in her own self. And it was also quite severe. So if they didn't hurry along with it, the cancer would have blocked off her esophagus.
Aha koa te kotokoto o ngā roi o mata, kei tua o te pōroa, te awa te e tatari ana.
Mō tēnei kaupapa te whakamate ienei rā, koia te tahi o ngā painga kei roto. E tāia te tangata te whakahuihui tāna whānau, te koro ake moana ohaki, wāna wawata me wāna tūmanako e hehea nei te tuku ki tāna whānau. Ko ki tau i wetahi mea tīnoa tāhua, te noho tahi o te whānau. I runga anō i tēnā kaupapa te whakamate, iai anō, te noho tahi o te whānau he mea tāhua, e kore tā te kite mena kā mate te tahi ki, ki tāna kāingana te turoro ki te hospice rānei.
Ko te ohaki nui tēnei, a era ko whakamatea ki te ngira. Arā, ko ngā tikanga tuku iho, he mea arahi i a tātou i te ao marama.
So although the assisted dying process was a new one, those sort of tikanga processes that we've had in the home and the marae and all of those sort of things, it was like I'm so comfortable in doing and being around those that we made it flow. We got her in the door. We had the kai, to make things noa. She also didn't want everybody seeing her. She didn't want everybody coming up the driveway. It was, up until her death, there was probably a handful of people that knew about it. There wasn't too, it was a secret.
A group of our whanaunga arrived that were going to help us with the sort of tikanga side, come in, do a karakia, let us have a bit of a kōrero about our sister and sort of bless the place and bless her and let her pass over. And then we had had that sort of process, and then we, just had a cup of tea and a kai. And we just stayed with her for the rest of the day. The next day we came back to her whare and we had the normal process of, blessing the whare, so we can takahi the whare and whakanoa, lift that tapu off the whare.
Engari ko ngā tikanga i taki nei, e rua ngā kraki i taki nei ia. mua mai te matenga o te wahine nei. Ko te tahi, ko te whakamāki tana hau, ko te rua, ko te tuku i tana wairua, ka tahi ka werohia, tahi miniti ka hipa, ka mate te wahine rā. Mutu mai i te mahi o te tākuta, ka takina ko te tahi krakia ki runga ki te tākuta. A te he tākuta Pākehā, ka takina ko te tahi krakia ki runga ki āia. He mea whakawāte ake i wāna taputapu. Tāna nira, mea ai anō. He toru ke ngā wahanga o tēnei mea te whakamate. Mena tirohi ana tātou ki te whakaaro te Māori. Ko te tahi, ko te tangata ka werohia i āia, kia mate. Ko te rua, ko te tangata kua werongia. Ko te toru, ko te wāhingaru.
Seek out the people that are going to help. Because this is a new tikanga. And I'm sure other people have talked about this before. But I do reckon that it's a colonial construct, this whole thing about suicide. And some people are worried about that because it is about keeping everything nice and calm for the person who's facing their own death.
Sport has long been celebrated for its unique power to unite and bring people together, but it takes hard work, passion and a higher purpose for it to achieve that level. On the East Coast of Aotearoa, there's a growing team dedicated to more than the game. Courtney Tairi with the story.
From the peaks of Hikurangi to the tides of Te Tai Rāwhiti, the sky blue of Ngāti Porou is intertwined with their passion for rugby union. However, over the last few years, another code has quietly been working at making an impact for the Uri.
Iahu mai te whakaaro ki tēnei kaupapa, iau ka tākoro mā iwi ke, mā kapa ke, mo te tekau tau pea, ki ngā whakataitai Māori. Ka pātai au ki au anō, he aha I kore ai, he kapa o Ngāti Porou. Nā reira, I tipu te hiahia, I tipu ngā uru paunamu, I tērā, ka tukuna he pōhi ki whukamata, ka whai mai, ko te whanaketanga, tērā o te kapa riki o Ngāti Porou. Kua toru tau tēnei kaupapa, I tēnei wai timata ki ngā tuakana, kua whanake ki ngā rangatahi, e whāngā kapa rangatahi, e kapa wahine, e rua ngā kapa tāne, nā reira, kei te tipu.
Players travel across the motu and from as far as Australia, but it's more than just sport bringing them home.
What's the kōwaro to Ngāwari? Hard, ua ua. Kororo mai? No, that's uawa. We don't want uawa, ua ua. Yeah, be proud to be from uawa, but don't get the word mixed up, it's ua ua.
Yeah, it's just choice to see it grow year by year and excited to see where it builds to from here, but yeah, it's a special feeling coming back home. I've been lucky enough to play for different teams over the years, but yeah, this is untouched, sort of being able to put on the sky blue, be here on our whenua, at our marae and our maunga, representing our iwi is huge. There's a big sort of drive around rugby league, but more so just our whānau wanting to reconnect back home, and I think that's at the core of what our kaupapa is about. That was, one of the big reasons for me is being able to come home, bring my baby back, see all the whānau again beyond our whenua, and so league provides that opportunity. We always talk about it being a vehicle, but the biggest thing is that reconnection, and you just see it in spades around the motu with not only for us as iwi, but for us as Māori, wanting to reconnect our culture and our identity. And so, it's grown over the years, but I think it's only going to get bigger with, I think, the value that people see with that reconnection coming back home. Even just this year, our numbers from this 15s and 17s, our Taina boys, we haven't had our wharekai packed out on a Friday night like that. So, super positive in terms of just, looking around and seeing all our young rangatahi coming back home from all across the country. So yeah, I think that it's only going to get bigger because, yeah, the league stuff's cool and boys get opportunity to go, you know, showcase their talents on the league field, but yeah, it's much deeper and it goes far and wider than that.
Ko te wāhanga nui, ko Waimari e ahau, ko te arahi i a tātou tikanga, ko te whakaora i tō tātou reo, ko te whakakōrero anō i tō tātou reo, ko te tūhono i ngā mana i ngā tapu, ha tēnā o tātou, ki te kaupapa e pai here nei a tātou ara, ko te Ngāti Porotanga, kia mōhio hoki, tātou tamariki, te iwi rānei, ki ngā kōrero tuku iho, a ngā mātua tūpuna, hei arahi a tātou i roto i tēnei kaupapa. Ko te hua, e nui nā hua, engari, ko te mea whakamiharo ki au, kei te kaha te iwi te kōrero Māori i roto i tō tātou whare. He tai reo Pākehā mai, engari, i te mutunga o ngā wānanga, he rere hua te rangona i tō tātou reo Māori.
Kia ora. Ko Ngāti Parau, ko Rangitāne, ko Taranaki ngā iwi, ko te haere ahau. Kia ora.
Ko i rā tētahi, ko te kite atu i te Māori rangatira, ka riro ki roto ki ngā whānaunga, ngā whānau, e tautoko kaha ana i tēnei kaupapa. Ko a tātou waiata, te kite atu i te whakahirahira, i te whakamiharo, o ngā whanaunga e waiata ana, i ngā waiata e hāngai tonu ana kia rātou. Ka mutu, ko te takihare i ngā whakapapa, i ngā pepeha kōrero, ka mau nei ki te ngā kautangata, mō ngā rā kei tua. O te rā e whiti ana, nā reira, koira ngā tino whakahira-tanga.
You can play for different teams, but it's to represent your whānau, represent your iwi. There's nothing that compares to it. I think that's why I'm so passionate about this kaupapa, is because that kind of happened late in my career or towards the back end. Had I had that opportunity earlier on, who knows what that could have done in terms of just giving myself that confidence around identity, culture, realising the value of, you know, being Māori, being from Ngāti Porou. And so, yeah, that's why I push to all these young boys, is that, and our girls as well, and everyone that gets the opportunity to put on the Sky Blue, is that, you know, make the most of this opportunity and just try and connect it to, you know, it's just going to help you going forward in your journey no matter what. And yeah, even at Whakaroa Park, like I remember, yeah, I've sung the national anthem a few times, putting on the black jersey, but singing Taku Manawa by Uncle Kahu in the changing rooms, you know, that was the anthem. You know, doing kamati and kapo pango, going out before some of our games was mean, but to do our Ngāti Porou haka on Whakaroa Park was, yeah, untouched.
We put tikanga first. You know, the kids were up late doing kapahaka last night, and that's something that I've never experienced. And all the teams that I've played in, league has always dominated, but this way the roles are reversed. You know, we spent the morning at the beach doing the haka on the beach, and it's really important about the kids getting to learn about who they are.
But in an area where rugby union is first choice, these players only have 48 hours to learn how to play rugby league.
If you go into the play like a fairy, you're going to get folded.
Ka pai, I'm not asking for maximum contact, right? But I want just enough to, you know, see how Phoenix ran into me? A little bit of mana. All right, pick up the contact a little bit. That's how we're going to get used to this beautiful game. Ka pai, let's go.
However, a kaupapa like this doesn't happen without all the people behind the scenes. From the coaching staff to the ringawera in the kitchen, the mahi is all done out of aroha.
Te hāpai o is how we've been able to make this, one, get off the ground, and two, have it going for 3 years. And to be honest, we've got the easy job, you know, Api and I and a few other ones that actually do the coaching and things, but it's our mums, our aunties, our nannies, our uncles, our whānau that are in behind the scenes in a way, but that, yeah, we encourage that they're like visible, and they are, like when our kids and all our whānau that come through our wānanga, they know who are actually doing all the heavy lifting. And so, yeah, we're extremely grateful. We probably don't acknowledge and don't thank them enough.
Nā reire he wāhi nui tō te whānau, kia te tuki tēnei kaupapa, kia eke tēnei kaupapa. Nā reire mihi ana ki rā whānau, kua tautoko ia mātou i roto i tēnei huarahi. Ko te tūmanako, he paenga ka puta mā ngā uri, e hana tū mai nei.
I pai te tūtaki i ngā tangata hau, ngā whanaunga hau. Ai. Ko ngā hua o tēnei kaupapa, e hara i te mea ko te whutupōro riki, te kaupapa matua. Ka noho mātou ki ngā tikanga o mātou matua tīpuna, ngā mahi haka, ngā mahi karakia. Ai, pai ake te whutupōro ki au, but...
Cut that out.
Wai nō rei karema, nā te mea ia humai tēnā pūrongo i te rohe o te tai rāwhiti. Ko te kiwa horongo nui o taua takiwā ko te kā mau te wehi. E rua aku kā mau te wehi. Hei whakatepe ake, hei whakarehu ake ia marae i tēnei rā. Tuatahi, ko te kapa kahurangi i eke panuku ki te kapa rangatira o Waikato me te waiariki. Kā mau te wehi, ko te whutupōro ngai o tērā. Me te kapa tamatoa i whakawhiti atu ki poi hākena kātoa ki ngā Cronulla Sharks, kā mau te wehi. Wai nō rei tiwi, ko ia tērā ko Marae i tēnei wiki e mihi ana ki a koutou. Hei te wiki e tū mai nei. Ka hui hui tahi anō ai tātou, kia ora tātou katoa. Ko te reo, te take.